In this video, I'll show you how to set up your Google Classroom gradebook and then how to grade an assignment. To start, you click into any of your classes and head to this gear. In the gear, you scroll to the very bottom and the grading section. The first thing you'll want to do is, if you want to use this gradebook to be really effective, especially for progress reports and report cards, you'll want to change no overall grade to either total points or weighted by category. Of course, you know if you use weighted categories, and so you can choose that. If not, just stick with total points. The difference is, in a total point system, each individual assignment is weighted based on the points you make it worth. So if something's worth 5 points, it's not worth a whole lot in the overall grade. If something's worth 100 points, it's worth a lot more in the overall grade. Whereas with weighted categories, the individual points don't matter as much as how much that category is weighted. So I'll show you both briefly, just so that you can see how to set them up. If you don't want to use any of those systems, you can stick with no overall grade, and the students will just be able to see how they do on each individual assignment. For total points, I assume that most of you will want to show the overall grade to students. If so, switch that on. And then you can add as many grading categories as you like. So you might have classwork, you might have homework, assessments. Let's say you have those three. The default points, what that controls is every time you create an assignment in a particular category, it will default to this number of points. So let's say when I do classwork, I usually do it out of 10. When I do homework, I usually do it out of 5. All this does is every time I create a new classwork assignment, it defaults the points to 10 so that I don't have to change it as often. You can, though, certainly still change these values. It just controls what pops up initially. So now I can go create as many assignments as I want and use these three categories, or I can create more. I'm going to show you what it looks like if I use weighted categories. You can see instead of default score, it shows me a percentage. So let's say classwork is worth 50%, homework is worth 30%, and assessments are worth 20%. And you saw that Google shows you how many percentage points you have remaining, so that you can't actually save this unless it says remaining 0. So now I have my weighted categories, and what this means is no matter how many points an assessment is worth, I can have an assessment worth 2,000 points, but that whole category will only ever be worth 20% of the student's grade. And so you can decide however you want to set this up. Those are the two primary methods. And now, of course, the last thing to do is simply click Save. The only downside to the setup to Google Classroom Gradebook is that, as easy as I think it is, you do now have to go into all of your other classes and set it up again. So for some of you, that just means you have to do that process 4 more times in your other classes. Once you're finished with that, I can come into my classwork tab and find an assignment that needs grading. And I'm just going to click into View Assignment. And I can see from this view that 2 of my students have already done this assignment, and 1 of them didn't. And I gave that student a 0. I'm going to see if I can get that to go away for now. Yeah. I just want to show you what it looks like when there is a student who is missing the assignment. If I want to start grading these students, I can simply click into an individual student and then open a file that student submitted. This is the actual grading view. So you can see down the side here, these are all the files that this student submitted for this assignment. And I can, as the teacher, I can just click through and look at all of these individual files. And then when I'm ready to give the grade, I come down and click, like, yes, you got every single point for this assignment. If I'm using a rubric, I would obviously see the rubric here, and I can plug in the numbers on the rubric, and then Google will calculate the final grade. And then of course you see the private comments I can add here as well. When I'm finished, I should show you this as well. This is just a feature here, this comment bank. If you have a bunch of comments that you use typically, you can just come into your bank. You can search for certain terms. If you have a bunch of entries, you can search and then just hit this to copy it. And then I can come back to private comments and paste these right in here. And I can post those to the students, of course. When I am finished, I can hit return, or there's also an option when I'm finished all the students, there's a return button that I can click to just send this grade out to all of my students at once, or I can click this now to send this feedback and the grade to this individual student. You can see that this also lets me return just this submission, or return to multiple students. If I don't want to send it to everyone, I can pick and choose which ones I want to send this to. But for now, I'm not going to return this. I'm going to show you the two ways to get to the next student. If I know that most students have done this assignment, I'm just going to click this arrow to get to the next student. If let's say I've already graded this assignment and I know there are only a couple of stragglers who I needed to come back in and regrade, I can click on this guy and it will show me all the students in the class. So I can just kind of scroll down if I need to and find the other student or two who I need to grade. And I don't have to necessarily click through to every student to get to the person I want to see. But either way, I come in, I see this very mediocre submission. So I come in and say, oh, let's give you 2 points for at least typing some words, and in the private comments might leave them some feedback. And again, I can return here or not. That is primarily the methods you'll use in setting up the gradebook and grading individual assignments. If you want to see your overall gradebook, I can close this tab. You can see that my original tab is on the left, and when I come into the gradebook, or when I come in to grade something, it opens up a new tab. So I'm finished with that, I can close it. This is that return button I was telling you about. I have to refresh the page to get that to pop up, but this would turn blue and I'd be able to click on it to return this assignment to all students. But what I want to do now is just go back to class so that I can show you the grades tab. And now you'll see the sample homework assignment is here, and this student got 100, this student got 2, and so you'll see the overall grade will pop up as I go. This assignment, the reason this isn't showing up in the final grade is this assignment isn't in any of my grading categories, and so since I didn't assign it to a category, Google doesn't know how much it's worth. So if I go in to edit this assignment, I just want to show you that this actually does work. Grade category, I'm going to say that was homework, and now when I save this and I return to the grade book, I should see a grade. The final step, I just realized, you see it says draft here. That means that I haven't yet returned this assignment, and since I haven't returned it, it's still not showing me the overall grade. So you need to return grades for 2 reasons. 1, so that the student can see their grade, and 2, so that it counts toward the overall grade. Now finally you can see that that overall grade is impacted by the grading you did. Just have to make sure that the assignment is in a category and that you return the student's work. That should be it for now. There will be a separate video for how to do rubrics, so you can be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, let me know if you have questions.